but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot see.
Good evening, welcome to NUFC Matters. It is the start of a new week. The Monday club's open and it's me and Joe Walker taking you through till 7 o'clock. How are you, Joe?
Evening, my friend. I'm well, you?
Yeah, good mate, good mate. And VAR, the three letters, which have dominated the weekend, spoilt our weekend, certainly, because we could have had an extra 2 points in the bag. Spoilt our week, if you consider the fact that we had a perfectly good goal chalked out against Liverpool as well. Your take on VAR, mate? What's your views? You've had a bit of time to calm down like I have. What's your views on it?
I don't think frustrated covers it, Steve. And in the essence of fairness, this wasn't just an issue for Newcastle United. Yes, we've dropped points. Arguably we'd have gone on and won that game. I genuinely believe one goal, I think, was always going to take it. Look at what happened at West Ham. Look what's happening week after week after week. It's pathetic, Steve. It's absolutely pathetic. And before we come on to our game, if I was to perform like that, as poorly as that in the job, or anybody performs that poorly, we'd be held to account, Steve. People would want answers. We'd have to justify our actions. We'd have to help people understand the decisions we did or didn't come to. And I don't work in a multi-billion-pound kind of industry with the world watching. And I can't understand how we've got these people who time and time again are making decisions based on something that they've seen. And that's it. And I don't have to come out and talk about it. I don't have to explain to you what I saw, because what the world saw was a foul on Joe Willock. So even if we don't get the goal, Steve, even if there's interference with the goalkeeper that means we don't get the goal, we get a penalty kick, and arguably that guy gets a card, possibly red, for stopping a clear goal scoring opportunity. I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know the role of this kind of PGMOL, as they're called, this game match officials limited. People were brought in to offer assurances that actually what those guys in the middle were doing was better regulated. And all we're seeing, Steve, is just an absolute joke. And yes, from a Newcastle United perspective, I'm absolutely gutted. Look at West Ham, Declan Rice going absolutely mad. Again, about a goalkeeper who, to all intents and purposes, made a rick. He goes down as if he's being shot. The referee buys it. And arguably, it costs West Ham points. So at the end of the season, when, teams are either relegated, teams are losing a couple of million for the league positions, teams are done out of a European spot, I hope these people who are making the decisions are happy with themselves, mate, because for me, it's absolute incompetence. It's an absolute joke. The system's not getting used. I said I wouldn't rant on, didn't I? The system.
No, keep going.
The system's not getting used, Steve, for what it's supposed to be used for. And clearly, all that happens is Michael Salisbury gets a message in his ear to say, I think you've made a mistake, you better go and have a look. And then we can legitimately, on the back of a VAR shout, overrule the goal. That referee put his hand in the air, he gestured back to the centre circle, Newcastle are 1-0 up, great. And then all of a sudden, hang on a minute, you better go and have a look. When you start to delve into the conspiracy theories, you're then led to believe that they didn't play all the angles. It was the same as the Isak thing at Anfield. We'll quickly show you that. It looks like a clear foul on the goalkeeper. Bugger me, you see the other angle, and of course there's a Nathaniel Klein, has not only endangered Joe Willock, but he's endangered his own goalkeeper, because that was lethal what he did. That could have been extremely nasty. So yes, I'm just exacerbated with it, Steve, really, and I don't know what the answer is. We've gone all over the world, people like this Jared Gillette, who we've headhunted apparently from Australia to come over, the next big thing. Absolutely woeful. And it, at what point do you start to think, this is ruining our game? It's absolutely ruining the game. what to do about it, I don't know. People are saying, bin VAR. I think, I agree with what the pundits say. VAR is not the problem. It's the bloke who's operating it. That's the problem. So do we bring ex-players in? Do we, I don't know, do we start to kind of really hold them to account and relegate them for it? That guy on Saturday should be reffing the conference next week, and for the next 6 weeks, because he's nowhere near the Premier League. Supposed to be the best league in the world, and yes, we've got the best players in the world. What's the point if you've got the worst referees?
Yeah, rant over, I guess, but you made your point very eloquently. If you want to come on screen tonight, a lot of people that bumped in over the weekend seem to agree with Daniel Kane. You need to bring back Monday Night Rant. Love that. You can come and join me and Joe on air, 6 till 7. If you've got something to say about VAR or anything else regarding Newcastle United, feel free. The link is in the chat. You can join us on air tonight if you want to come on and make a point. I said, I think, everything I had to say yesterday about VAR, but yeah, it's been an absolute disgrace this last couple of weeks for us. And, that old adage of it'll balance out at the end of the season, it doesn't do you any good now. That's the problem. And, it's destroying the game. And as you say, West Ham, had a right to be aggrieved. Everton had a right to be aggrieved. Aston Villa had a right to be aggrieved over the weekend. And I guess because there wasn't just one major incident, but 4 major incidents over the weekend that we can talk about in the Premier League, then people are absolutely foaming. And that's the bottom line, isn't it? That's the bottom line. So, it's spoiling the Premier League for everybody. I am going to bring in Darren, because he was one of the people I bumped into, actually, over the weekend, and says, bring back the rant. Darren, good evening, mate.
Hello, Paul. How's it going?
How are you? I've just recognised you as well from Twitter. You bumped into Eddie Howe over the weekend. You didn't have a chat about VAR, did you?
Yeah, funny enough, I mentioned it. Like you say, we got robbed, funny enough. But he's a lovely fella, to be fair, and he's been chat with his kids and his family members. He's a lovely lad. But I couldn't believe the decision. Like, I was on the other end where it was. But when you get back and see on the YouTube and all the channels, like, how's the officials are costing points? Do you know what I mean? Like, we pay. That's their job. It's like me going to work, not doing my job properly. They're not doing their job. So
absolutely.
What would you do? I mean, Joe's already mentioned, relegating referees, dropping people down a few levels. You could fine them. With the VAR, you could bring in ex-professionals. What's the answer, Darren, for you?
I don't think you haven't got an answer, because whatever's going to happen, no one's going to be happy. What they're going to do? Can you just go back the old way where just complain the referee got it wrong? Because this way is not working, because it's went from blaming the referee to VAR. You blame VAR on the Saturday night or the next morning. You say, VAR got it wrong. So it's just took away from the referee. Referees are so relying on VAR. And as soon as they say VAR, we all know in the stadium what's going to happen. I think there's only been one referee this weekend who stuck to their decision. Every other referee has just, I'll go with you.
And of course, the referee who changed his mind will never referee a Newcastle game, because it's Michael Oliver, who's a Newcastle fan. So, we've got no chance of ever getting the ref who did just stick by his convictions. Do you think that's part of the problem, Darren? Do you think it's the fact that, Newcastle's, and everybody, well, every team in the Premier League, are relying on somebody who, essentially isn't getting a chance to see all the angles. So, that one angle that wasn't shown to Salisbury by Lee Mason at the weekend was, of course, the key angle, where you could see that he was clearly pushed. Willock was clearly pushed in the back into the goalkeeper. So it was either a goal or it was a penalty. Even Dermot Gallagher, who I've got to be honest, I respect. He's a top class referee back in the day. He obviously does his assessment. He said he wouldn't have given a goal; he would have given a penalty. But at least we would have got something off it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, is it just down to the fact that do you think there's corrupt people in, or are we just being a bit paranoid?
I think you're right. I think the big six are corrupt. There's anything. It's like last Wednesday when they played 8 minutes injury time, where they get the 8 minutes from, and if you watch the last 5 minutes they got on Saturday, he didn't stop any of the time when their queue went down. He didn't waste any time. He played the official 5 minutes. Like they wasted about a minute injury time, and the extra minutes got paid. It's just strange that the big six gets everything towards them.
Yeah. Joe, you got anything to ask Darren or add to what Darren's saying?
No, it's just really interesting, Steve, and I think universally, I think what Darren's saying is absolutely spot on, and I don't think anyone will argue with it. I think fundamentally what we're talking about is what do we do about incompetence? And Darren's right. I mean, maybe there isn't an answer, but we have to do something. And what were we doing in the days before VAR, Darren? I mean, we went to the match, and like you say, we had stuff to talk about. The referee now doesn't have to make a decision. The other angle, the other person who was best placed to see that incident was the linesman. It was on that side. Mm-hmm. Linesman doesn't have to make a decision. Referee's not making a decision. So actually, what's the point in them being there? There's no responsibility whatsoever. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I'll ring my mate. It's like Millionaire, isn't it? I'll ring my mate and see if he knows the answer. And that's what we're stuck with. And Darren's right, as paying customers, which we all are, that's severely affected our entertainment there on the back of a bloke who has no accountability for it. So I'm 110% behind you, Darren. It was a joke. And unfortunately, I think we'll see more of it.
Tom Lynch has got a suggestion for both for both of us on here and you, Darren. So we'll hear what Tom's got to say. If VAR is to be revamped, then firstly, offside needs to be the whole player, daylight. 2, referee and the VAR official need to be mic'd up. 3, all angles automatically shown. And 4, the clubs get to review 2 reviews per game. Darren, what do you think of that?
I agree with the making up. So like if anybody's like, especially if it's on live TV, at least the managers be able to listen what's going on. At least they know the reason. Can they approach him? Say, was that right? Something needs to be done because the way it's going on the minute is not working. And every weekend we're talking about VAR, and it's ruining the football. They come in for a reason to stop all this nonsense, and it's getting worse every weekend. It's not. I kind of say it's getting better. It's going to get worse and worse.
Joe, what's your take on what Tom said? I've stuck it back up on the screen there for you. I agree with the offside rule does need to be clarified for me, and I do agree with Darren and Tom that we should have access to the microphone decision so we can hear exactly what they're saying. All angles automatically shown should just be what happens. There should be a set of angles should happen, and I like the idea of getting 2 reviews per game. So I like what Tom said.
But Steve, you're fundamentally talking about, without me being overly dramatic, you're almost withholding evidence. How on earth can we only show a referee an angle when it was the other angle that had told him everything he needed to know? I don't like people messing about with our game. Our game's been messed about with, who'd have thought we'd have referees running around with foam spray in the pockets and stuff like that. So I understand the mic bit. I'm all for that because I really, really want to be able to say, to understand why people make those decisions. So I get that point. The bit about reviews and stuff, I understand where Tom's coming from. I can see, but we're talking about a game that's already stop-start. If we start reviewing things and putting appeals in and, we'll be there all night, won't we? Especially Newcastle, we'll use our 2 in the first 10 minutes. So, yeah, I'm all for the microphones. Offside, absolutely. How can you be offside by your collar or a shadow or, you know what I mean? It was really simple when I was growing up. You were either on or you were off. It was as simple as that. No one was kind of measuring people and what have you. So, yeah, I agree with some of it, but I think the reviews thing actually, we'll end up like cricket. We'll be there all day.
Any other points to make, Darren?
No, that's it, mate. That's me right now. Here.
Brilliant, mate. Well, listen, I do listen to what people say when I'm out and about. Thanks for suggesting getting people back on, mate. Great to have you on as the first caller as well.
Ta-ra, boys. Ta-ra, bye.
Cheers, Darren.
Yeah, good to have Darren on. And yeah, as I say, if you've got any ideas for the show, I'm always all ears. So drop them back in. We did always intend to bring some kind of interaction back with people, and it's nice to have Darren on as the first caller. If you want to join in, the link is in the chat. I'll post it in again now. If you've got a point to make about the weekend's game, then please do give us a shout, and we will get you on the screen with me and Joe. So getting to the football side of things, Joe, away from VAR. What was your take on the performance of the team in general?
I couldn't quite work it out, Steve. I think at times the ground seemed a bit flat at times. We didn't have a great deal going forward. I mean, Alexander Isak went through, and you're thinking, here we go, Gallagher and son, you put this away and we'll start building your statue. It was a weak finish. And as the game went on, you're starting to get the sense that it was going to be one of them games. And it reminded me very much of some of the games towards the end of Steve Bruce's tenure. Those things about this team's there to be beat. We should be beating them. But you always got that sense that at any minute they were going to break away and do us, and we'd have all left devastated. So taking out the ridiculous VAR decision, Steve, I just thought we were a little bit flat. There was pockets of good play. But, we got to about the hour mark and you're starting to think to yourself, we could be here for 3 days and we're not going to score. Miggy doing that thing where he does everything brilliantly other than score. He rattled the post and there was a couple of opportunities. Joe Willock just throwing himself at everything, trying to get on the end of stuff. Sven Botman, the goalkeeper, made a couple of good saves. But actually, in fairness to Crystal Palace, so did Nick Pope. Nick Pope made at least two or three saves that actually, kept us in the game. And there was a save in the second half that was pretty much in line of where we sit when he got down low to his right-hand side. It was a tremendous save because it was a goal all day long. So yeah, it just felt a little bit flat, Steve. And I'm going to say something now that might surprise a lot of people. I was talking to the old fella, and one of the things we were on about was kind of what do you do about Alan Saint-Maximin? Because when he plays, most of the time he's not delivering. But when he's missing, I tell you what, we absolutely noticed it. Fraser, they're not as dynamic, either. We didn't appear to have that out ball. It just felt like something wasn't right. And whether it's the fact that we've had a lot of games in a lot of days, fair dues, Palace have got a reasonable side as well. But we certainly missed Gumares and here I am admitting we absolutely missed Alan Saint-Maximin. Callum Wilson's not there. There's a lot of pressure on Isak. But we didn't have a song ready for him. I don't really remember people going absolutely nuts when his name was announced. He got a decent cheer, but everything just...
There is a song for Isak, but it's an ABBA song, but it's not the easiest song to learn.
Right.
Gimme, a striker named Isak. First name Alexander, and his surname's Isak. That was the song that was sang at Liverpool on Wednesday night.
I didn't hear it on Saturday, unless I missed it.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think it got one little thing from the week, right, like from the Strawberry Corner. But other than that, very, very little. It's a bit like the Botman song. It'll filter its way in from those away games, which is like Chase the Sun, the darts anthem, with Botman chucked in.
I think it's a totally different conversation, Steve, isn't it? When he danced through, and the rest would have been history, and I think we'd have gone on, and arguably grew into the game. But yeah, it was just a funny game, and here we are yet again, and all we've been talking about is VAR and a crap refereeing decision. But actually, is that what we're reliant on to beat Crystal Palace? So maybe it was just an off day. I don't want to make that goal as an excuse, because technically, arguably, we should have beat them. We should have been out of sight. So it's a strange one. It's another draw. And at what point do we start to think, how many draws can you have? We can't draw every game from now to the end of the season, otherwise we'll go down. So yeah, a little bit of work to do, but let's get the players back. Let's get our first 11 out. Let's see the full lot of them and then we'll be able to make sure kind of, we'll have a better gauge of where we're at. Won't be easy at West Ham next week. God help whoever's on VAR, that's all I can say, to make a decision about anything. I'd just turn the monitor off and forget it. And then Bournemouth at home, and that's going to be a big game there, a cracking result, turning round a 2-0 deficit. So we'll see. Let's get the lads back. But yeah, I was just left kind of just frustrated and numb, I think.
I get what you're saying about the atmosphere. I mean, Norman Barton says, I thought the atmosphere was a little tense before kickoff compared to Forest and Man City. I mean, I guess it's because there is a lack of creativity. We all know that. We didn't get a centre midfielder or a winger in, in that final part of the window for whatever reason. And ultimately, we were going in with, a slightly weakened team. Crystal Palace as well, I've got to say, are no mugs. They did really well last season. I thought they'd go down last year. And Patrick Vieira's come in and he's made them a hell of a unit. Sometimes, you've got to take the positives out of a game like that, because we would have lost that game last year. No doubt about it. We would have gone on to lose it, and we would have had no points. So I'm happy. 3 clean sheets, as well, tells you where, our strength lies in this team. When we haven't got any creative midfielders, it's going to be very hard to break us down. And it wasn't a game where I wasn't entertained. There was something in that game for everybody. And let's accentuate the positives, because there was a young man came on as a substitute called Elliot Anderson, who we've talked about on the show before. Will he stay? Will he go? Should he go out and loan? The decision's been made. He's staying at Newcastle United. And I tell you what, I'm over the moon. And the away fans on Wednesday night had a little song about the Geordie Maradona, which is what they call Elliot Anderson. Might heap a bit of pressure on him, comparing him to him and his on the field antics as opposed to his off the field antics. But you know what? We've got a player there, and we could develop him, half as good as Phil Foden's developed. And we're going to save ourselves a hell of a lot of money, because he wanted the ball, he created things. Yeah. And for me, I think, we might see him start a game very, very soon. Might not be until Bournemouth at home, but I can see Elliot Anderson being in the starting lineup, and then it's up to him to stay there.
Absolutely, Steve. And just to be clear, what I'm talking about is being disappointed at the result in a game that I think we should have, could have and should have won. There was some great positives, before I get onto Anderson. Nick Pope, like I say, a couple of world-class saves. Kieran Trippier absolutely had Wilfred Zaha in his pocket. I thought Trippier was outstanding. Sven Botman is only getting better and better and better. So it wasn't all lost. And then, like I say, Anderson came on, Steve, and I think at that point, we needed something. Our usual substitutions of bringing Murphy on had happened, and he just did his thing that he normally does without any great conviction or end result. And then Anderson came on, and he was hungry. He wanted the ball. I love the fact that he puts his foot in. It's not all just about skill and quality. He looks like he's working hard. Excellent vision. Created a couple of chances. Won us a couple of corner kicks. So I think you're right, Steve. I think the future is very, very bright with him. I didn't make it a secret. I wondered if he'd go out on loan for another a step up into the Championship. But actually, what the lad's done is he's done exactly what Eddie Howe probably wanted him to do. I'm giving you an opportunity, and he's taken it, Steve. And I think you're right. I mean, arguably, yes, Willock was industrious. Willock was kind of running around. Was it to any great effect? Was Fraser effective? Like I say, poor Miggy done everything but get his name on the score sheet. It doesn't quite happen for him. So, and Murphy on the bench isn't all that. So, there's certainly a place for him, Steve, and his stock will rise. I think it's at what point, though? At what point do you just say, there you go, son? I'd hate to think that all season all we do is give him a 10-minute cameo and hope for the best at the end of every game. He certainly looks good enough. The Premier League doesn't appear to be phasing him at all. So why not? And you know what? At home to Bournemouth might be the ideal opportunity just to say, there you go, mate. There's the shirt. you're up front or wherever and get on with it. And I wonder about his position. I wonder what it'd be like if we're going to see Isaac and Wilson play together. Does that mean we're going to put somebody in behind in that classic kind of number 10 role? Is that a job for him? So exciting times, and like you say, if it means we don't have to spend 120 million on James Maddison and Elliott in 5 years' time is an England international and with the world at his feet, fantastic.
A lot of criticism I can see coming in from various people about different players. Fraser, people hammering Fraser. People saying Miggy's so frustrating. He has to cut in, change feet. I would agree about Miggy. I mean, Miggy runs himself into the ground. But yeah, you're right. He does have to cut in and change feet, and it can be frustrating. And as for Fraser, it's all about opinions. I thought Fraser was. We certainly had them on the back foot at times, but very, very little service for Isaac from either flank. So I can understand people's frustrations, but Fraser and Almiron is where we are at the minute, and I'm afraid Jacob Murphy, who comes on off the bench, hasn't had the best of weeks. His performances have let him down. This is where we are at the moment. We've just got to get on with it.
We looked, Steve. I mean, I know there's a massive turnaround in the intensity of the training, obviously, with Howe's methods, having the lads in every day, for example, heaven forbid. But we looked really, really tired. Isaac looks off the pace. Like you say, Miggy Almiron, I mean, he runs out of battery. Ryan Fraser looks pagged when he comes off. We take Sam Maximin off every week because he's always knackered. So I'm not necessarily questioning our fitness, and certainly not Eddie Howe's training methods, but they definitely had more legs than us towards the end of that football match. Absolutely. So maybe something that we need to be mindful of. It's all right doing all this pressing and all this chasing and all this running. But if it means that every week you're going to have to bring, Murphy on or whatever, as a matter of course, might be something that we need to think about.
Isn't it only, less than 10, 11 months ago that we were all asking for a team that tried, mate, though?
I absolutely agree with you. But, take Miggy Almiron. You can try too hard sometimes, can't you? So yeah, I agree, Steve. I mean, the endeavour's there. It's fantastic. But I guess the point I'm making is if it means that you're going to have 5 or 6 players every match absolutely running themselves into the ground, where do we go with that? At the moment, it'd be ideal if we were Manchester City. We've got the bench. It doesn't matter. Miggy can run himself into the floor after half an hour. If it means we can bring Mahrez on or Foden on or, but we're nowhere near that yet. So I don't know. Is there a happy medium somewhere? Because the quality of the bench, I think it's very evident and very apparent.
You're getting a bit stick in the chat, mate. People saying you're being negative. Anthony Amos says it's how we play, Joe. 4-3-3, high press. We're only 6 games in.
What a for?
They had an extra day's recovery, Joe, as Liverpool had. Palace had an extra day off. Wood never gets any service, Dave. I'll agree with you. But yeah, I mean, look, it is all about opinions, Joe. I just think, my opinion is that I just feel that we're expecting too much too soon at times. I think we can all get carried away. I think we have to keep our feet on the ground. And, I'm delighted with the start we've had. I think my highlight is those 3 clean sheets. I think as a defensive unit, Joe, and this is something which I didn't expect under Eddie Howe, we look solid, mate. And you know what? When we are in these positions where we haven't got our number 9, we haven't got our creative midfielders, and we have to go into games like Liverpool away, Man City at home, and Crystal Palace at home, because they aren't a bad team, Palace, as I said right at the top of the programme. You know what? We know we're going to give them a good game, and we might not concede a goal. And if we don't concede a goal, there's always a chance of nicking one. So I think you like to do it the other way. For me, and I don't know whether it's because I'm a bit old, I'm 50 these days. I've turned into my dad. I think I'm maybe still a bit more, I've always been a little bit more optimistic. Do you know what I mean? Rather than a glass half full. I don't know. It's all about opinions, Joe. That's what makes it exciting.
It is, yeah, absolutely, mate, and that's the beauty of the game, isn't it? Otherwise, we'll bring VAR and one of us will have to shut up.
VAR for a no. Well, I'll not show all the
absolutely.
angles, Joe.
It is, but I don't think anyone, I don't think anyone can suggest that we looked extremely tired and we looked extremely leggy. And if that's the difference in having one more day off, we've got work to do.
Yeah, I would agree, mate. I would agree. Okay, let's put out the shout out to our sponsors. As always, big thank you to skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Thanks to Darren Baldwin Funerals, independent funeral directors. You can find them at 304 Old Durham Road, Gateshead. And telephone 0191 478 2730 or website darrenbaldwinfunerals.co.uk. Thanks to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.theguhd.com. Thanks to Mr. Vicky Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find the information at mrvickies.co.uk or 01768 210 102. Thanks to Away Day Clothing and to Media Arts. Thanks to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend, Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. If you want to subscribe, hit the NUFC Matters logo in the bottom right-hand corner. You can subscribe for free. Hit the thumb up to like the video, click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans or to pose as a question. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify, and the rest usually goes up 24 hours after the YouTube show has finished. And if you want to help us, click join underneath and you can make a small donation, or you can drop into the super chat and make one there. Or if you want to become a cult member, then go to nufcmatters.com, click membership, and you pay a £25 one-off fee to get a cup, a pen, a scarf, a membership card, and entry into the monthly draw. Also got a QR code there if you've got a smartphone, which will take you straight there. If you're a subscriber, we'll give you something for now. Click nufcmatters.com and email John at the website and he will post you one out. Don't forget as well, we do support the food bank on here. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk is the website where you can make a virtual donation. Joe, a little update from him as well on the score predictor because he wasn't here Friday. Just a reminder that the winner, overall season winner, gets £500 plus a t-shirt and a trophy. The runner-up gets £100 plus a t-shirt. The monthly winner gets £20 and a t-shirt. And just a little thing for all of you who are cult members, it may not have escaped your attention that next month it is 1 year since the takeover took place. So we have hired the room at the Irish Centre Friday, October the 7th, the anniversary of the takeover itself. And you cult members out there, all, I'm not sure there's 130 or 40 of you now, you can all come for free. We're all going to have a bit of a shindig, a bit of a get-together. If you want to come along to the event, you can buy your tickets, £2 on or £2 on the door. All proceeds going to the food bank from the tickets that we sell. NUFCmatters.com. Click on there. The event will be easy to find, and it's £2 for you to come along. But I'm sure there'll be a few of the guys there, myself, Steve Hasty, Keith, hopefully Joe and his dad, and John from QTech, etc., all having a bit of a get-together to celebrate the takeover. And don't forget, there's a rather snazzy-looking shirt on my Twitter account. Thanks to Gemma Summers for donating this. She did wear it at a match and got some right looks, apparently. But she's donated it now to the food bank. Go onto my Twitter, at Steve Wraith. Place a bid underneath the picture, and you will be able to donate some more money to the food bank that way. We're going to bring in another caller, and it's good evening to Donald. How are you, mate?
Good evening. How are we?
Good to see you, mate. I've recovered from VAR over the weekend. It sounds like Joe's still in a bit of a downer from it, like. But what's your view over the weekend, mate, and what happened at the weekend?
Well, mistakes happen. You know, at the end of the day, officials are human. Mistakes happen, but however many 4 or 5 games on the trot, same thing happening. That's not a mistake. That stinks, smells, is what I'll say on that score. But one thing about Saturday's VAR decision, just taking another example from one of our games last season against Norwich, when we got that penalty, how long it took it went through more angles than a protractor in a geometry set. And before it finally came up with a decision. Yeah, Saturday, squinted at the monitor. Oh, he had two choices: A, a goal, or B, a penalty. He went for option C. Obviously, neither. So, it's. I'm a firm believer that it's not the technology that's the problem; it's the numpties that operate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think he's right, Joe?
110%. Absolutely agree with you, Donald. The technology, if you think about it, the technology is actually quite brilliant, for what it can do and the calls that it can make. But as I say, if you've got people who are unable or unwilling or whatever the excuse was for not looking at it from the other side, and that would have told me everything I needed to know.
Yeah.
NASA could have built it. It's useless. It's pointless.
Yeah, and another thing I was going to say is, this thing that it's meant to pick up on something that's clear and obvious. Yeah. Now, going back to our game against Liverpool, surely the Isak second goal was not clear, and it certainly wasn't obvious, was it? So, the decision should have been goal stands. Can't see anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
So, I just...
What's your views on what Joe was saying earlier on? I mean, look, every fan seems to be different. I picked it up in the bar over the weekend. We've all got different opinions on different players, Donald. We've all got opinions on how we feel the first 6 games have gone. Take away VAR. Look at the way Newcastle are playing. Look at the players we managed to bring in. Are you happy?
Rome wasn't built in a day. We need a major overhaul is needed of the squad, and that's not going to happen in one transfer window. But what we have brought in is quality compared to, the bargain bin bargains that we got under Ashley and all that. But it's going to take, 2, maybe 3 more transfer windows, because it's not just the first 11. We have to concentrate on making sure we've got a good pool of players at our disposal, and that's going to take time. I mean, so far so good. Don't get us wrong. I mean, we obviously in this window we bought. All good teams are built from the back, and that's what he's done. He bought in Botman, and we needed a centre forward. Got Isak in. Isak's young, and that time on his side, he can only get better. Upward trajectory on his learning curve, not downwards. I mean, it's one. I mean, we all like to say, "Oh, we'd like this big name, that big name," but I always say big name signings are like Hollywood blockbuster films. They're either going to be a hit or they're going to be a total and utter flop. So for every gladiator, you're going to get an Alexander.
Any other points to make, Donald?
Any other points? Basically, what we've got, one thing I've picked up on in our game now, nobody scares us anymore. When we go out there, we were our defense under the previous regime. I'll not mention the name but under the previous regime, the defense was like pop group, goals allowed. But what you call, but now the defense is like, come and have a go if you think you're good enough. And the defense keep their shape, and nobody dives in willy-nilly. They stay big, stay strong, and that's good to see as well. Yeah, we do miss the quality. I understand that. I mean, Bruno. I mean, Bruno is quality find. Somebody who can pick a pass, and that. That quality was missed on Saturday, sadly, but he was injured. So what? But hey ho.
I think it's going to be an interesting season, and I think once we've got our key players on the pitch together, i.e., Isak, Bruno, ASM, and potentially Callum Wilson. I mean, a lot of people feel as if a lot of people feel as if he'll play one or the other. But Eddie Howe did come out in his press conference and say he would play, probably both of them together at some point. So imagine all 4 of them on the pitch together. Those other teams are going to have a hell of a lot to worry about, aren't they?
Yeah, and Saint Maximin now I've noticed he's Eddie's got through to him in the sense that he's starting to link play up more. He's not trying to take on the whole opposition back four and score. He's head up, looking, and that's what quality players do. They look, head up, see what's out there, see what the options are in front, and he's starting to do that. That he can only get better from that. So that's what a good thing to see. I mean, against Man City, he was unplayable. Let's face it. He was like, Kyle Walker. I didn't know what hit him. Kyle Walker thought, I'll be all right, but
Yeah, no, I would agree, mate. I would agree. Great stuff, Donald. Well, thanks for coming on, as always, mate. And hopefully see you at the takeover party. We'll be.
Oh yeah, I'll be along there, and I'll make sure and hopefully win a couple of raffle prizes and all. I'll sit on Kenny Ranson's. I'll sit on Kenny Ranson's table.
Lucky Kenny. Great stuff.
Kenny, yeah. Cheers, man. Yeah.
Take care, Donald. Thanks for
mate.
jumping on, mate. Bye bye. Great to have Donald back on as well. As always good to put names to faces. I'm sure that's a lot of you in the chat will maybe not even remember when we did the live shows way back during lockdown. We had some right fun. That's where we got a lot of the characters who you see on this channel and nowadays all joined in. We did match day lives and stuff like that. Absolutely fantastic. Just going back to the Wilson debate, I saw somebody put something in. It was Barry Hogan there, Joe, saying Steve Wilson will last 3 games and get injured again. Class player, but too fragile. And Tommy from the gym, who I mentioned quite a few times on this podcast every now and then, but me and him put the worlds to right when we're both on the treadmill. He does think that we'll sell Wilson. Probably next season. He thinks that Wilson will be surplus to requirements and that, that the owners will look at bringing in another world-class striker because, Wilson's had one too many chances, as far as injury concern. And we can't continually go into seasons hoping that he doesn't get injured and wrapped in cotton wool. Is that an interesting point that he's made, do you think, Tommy?
I think it is. I think it is, Stephen. And I think for me that, we talk about levels, aren't we? We're constantly talking about levels and improving. And yes, Callum Wilson is a fantastic centre forward when he's firing and when he's fit. But like you say, if then, and for example, we throw, we sign Erling Haaland, whatever, where does Callum Wilson go there? And yes, you look at his age, although he's not an old man, but we seem like we're in the business now. If you think of Botman and Isaac and, Bruno, that kind of early to mid-20s range, with people who can either be there for 10 years or will sell them for 150 million, whatever. Long gone are the days of signing the Callum Wilsons of this world, I guess, Steve. So, brilliant, yes. Goal scorer, absolutely reliable, not necessarily. The interesting bit now is going back to the conversation we were having about looking leggy and tired and all the rest of it. Wilson's got to come in, don't forget, and actually put another 10% shift in on top of what he already does, because when he's looking round and he's thinking, will he pick Chris Wood over me? Absolutely not. Will he pick Dwight Gale over me? Absolutely not. Who else is there for competition? We haven't got one. We haven't got any. All of a sudden now he's thinking, if I don't put a shift in here, there's a £63 million international footballer sat looking at me, who could take my space at any given moment. So I think there's pressure on Wilson, Stephen. With that pressure to perform, does that come with further hamstring tweaks? Does he go that extra yard? Or do we have the ability to say, let Isak do all the running for him now, and Sam Maximin and Wilson can just stand on the penalty spot and do what he does? So it'll be an interesting one. But yeah, I don't get the sense that this lad will be happy kind of slipping down the ranks and sitting on the bench and ending up a little bit like Matt Ritchie and just becoming that kind of bit part who's struggling to get a look in. He'd do a marvellous job for somebody, of course. So yeah, maybe he might be one of the ones out of the door. We talk about John Joe Shelby, for example. If you look at people like Fede Fernandez, they've gone. Martin Dubravka's gone. Nobody is untouchable anymore, and of course we will be signing more forward players. That is an absolute given. So the more we sign, the more we have to get rid of, and it might just be Wilson.
Does the club actually have sponsorship with a Turkish hair clinic called Dr. Cynic, or is that an NUFC Twitter post just to dig at the VAR mess? No, it's true. I've had a bit of stick over the last 2 home games. Some people going, me and Keith Patterson should go for that. So, yeah, it's true. Dr. Cynic, it's on the advertising boards. Kenny mentions the fact that Maxi won goal of the month. Thanks for that, Kenny. Yeah, Joe, I mean, it was a cracking goal at Wolves. I mean, the game itself wasn't one to write home about, but what a finish that was.
It should have went to VAR. He was offside. Technique, mate. It's one of them, you know. It's one of them, you know. You kind of go, I bet he's doing that in training 20 times a day, just smashing them in from all over the place. To do it, you know, to do it in the Premier League, the technique was wonderful. He dropped his shoulder and he just put his laces through it. If they wear laces anymore, I don't think they do. Yeah, what a goal. Deservedly goal of the month, of course it was.
Yeah, Shola used to do that in training as well all the time, apparently. Never really did it on the pitch from my perspective. Tom Dixon says he would like to see Wood alongside Isak, and when Wilson is back, do you think we might switch to a 4-4-2 formation with Wilson and Isak up front? Wilsak? Who the hell's that? Yeah, but I mean, it's an interesting one because he did say that he would probably play the two together at some point.
We've been talking about that for a while, Steve, haven't we? Thinking about the Bournemouth thing, wondering about you know, kind of what we do with that forward line. Who are the best 2 central midfielders, you know, and all that. 4-4-2 would kind of solve some of that. But I think from our perspective, you know, Chris Wood's strengths are not playing up front on his own, Steve. He's, you know, you and I are in his fan club. You and I kind of champion the guy. You know, we appreciate what he does and the job that he's done. But he'll be the first to admit him chasing the ball up against Van Dijk and God knows whoever else is kind of not playing to Chris Woods' strength. So does playing 4-4-2 all of a sudden automatically mean that you've got wingers, like proper wingers? And if you're playing with proper wingers, you play with target men. And whether that's Isak with Wilson feeding off him, or Wood with Wilson feeding off him and Isak on the right side or whatever, I don't know. But it's never gone away, has it? We've played this kind of 4-3-3 thing now, you know, since Eddie Howe walked in, and dare I say Bruce before that as well. So I don't know. I would like us, again, without being accused of being overly negative, but I'd like us to have a plan B, Steve, because all we do is we just substitute like for like. It's all we do. So would it be nice to say, do you know what, this is not working, we need to freshen it up, and by doing that, we'll change the formation. So yeah, I can see it. Why not? Why wouldn't we? We've got 2 great, you know, if we've got good goal scorers, you play them, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Isak can play on the wing. You know, that is a possibility as well. I think we do look for pretty good at 4-3-3. To be honest, though, Mark, why change something that isn't broken at this moment in time? We just need to add goals to these games, and we will be all right. And you know, we did okay against Manchester City. We scored 3 goals. But we did have some of our more attacking option players available. Eddie's shown a stubbornness to stick to the same formation. I doubt he'll change it unless injury dictates it, says Michael. I would play ESM, Isak and Anderson on Sunday, says George. Tease we had Derby tonight. Come on, the Borough, says Kenny. Yeah, interesting post this as well from Aitlays. He says, if I was the director on Saturday, he'd be getting the best, most conclusive angle instantly and repeatedly, and I'd not offer footage from angles that would harm Newcastle, as I'm not impartial. So where am I going with this? A few rabbit holes to go down for an inquisitive guy working in the media like yourself, Steve. I wouldn't say I work in the media. I do a podcast, but I get where you're coming from. It's an interesting one. Yeah, that debate will run, I'm afraid, you know, with VAR. And unless the powers that be get a grip on it, then I'm afraid we're going to be talking about it for a little bit longer on this show as well. But yeah, it's a good point you put across well. I will forget about the Super Six. Questions have come in about it, Joe. Do you want to give us a little bit of a heads up as to where we are? I know John answered in the chat, but just a reiteration that midweek games do count as well.
Yeah, there's actually a midweek this week. Predictions need to be in by, I want to say, 6 o'clock on Tuesday. They don't just concentrate on Premier League games. Be mindful that especially around the Champions League games, Sky will put out a Super Six as well. So it's always worth just checking either on the homepage or on the app. Right at the top, it'll tell you when your next predictions have got to be in. There's definitely one this week. I think it's like Man City are in there, Celtic, Real Madrid's in there. You know, it just freshens it up a little bit. So just because there's no Premier League, it might be that that there's something on there. And I want everybody, I've just seen a little comment there by my mate Roger. I invite everybody to beat him because I can't be having him be a manager of the month. We'll never hear the end of it.
Dan says there is no director. The ref tunnel visioned the collision with the keeper and ignored the push. Didn't look for one. That's it. Paulo says we're too attached to some players that were good on a certain level. It'll be a question of time, some transfer windows, until we have to replace them. Wilson is one of them. Yeah, no, I think it's Stu Penman and Mitch who've said it on many occasions on the shows. No room for sentiment in football, and that's very, very true. Michael says the one criticism you can have with Eddie is that we've not seen that plan B. Elliott should have been on a lot earlier on Saturday, for example. See, yeah, look, nobody's beyond criticism. I think if Howe looks back at some of those games, the Liverpool game and the Wolves game, I think he would probably do his substitutions differently. I think he got his subs wrong, but I'm not getting paid to do the job. I can have an opinion about it, but I'm not getting paid. And Eddie Howe is. And the end of the day, we came back from Wolves with a point. We almost came back from Liverpool with a point, and we got a point against Crystal Palace when we probably would have lost that last season. So I'm more positive than most, I think. That's just the way it is. Look, it's an easy thing to rectify. Show all the camera angles when looking at the monitor by red. Then it's the decision that counts. Says Kevin, getting back to the VAR. Colin says he loves Eddie's style of play. It is fantastic to watch. And I've got to say, yeah, it is. And like I said, right back at the start, from my perspective, we only wanted a team that would try. That was one of those things we kept saying. Now we've got it, haven't we, Joe? We've got a team that tries and runs itself into the ground and is fitter. To be clear from my perspective, Steve, I think personally, I think it works, and I think it works. We found a space. Joe Linton, greatest player on earth. When we've got our team out, it's like I said earlier. When we've got our team out, we'll be able to judge. I do just think, though, there's a small part of me that thinks every single week what we do is we say, right, it's 70 minutes now, watch, Maxie will come off and Fraser will go on, and then Joe Willock will come off and Murphy will go on, or Miggy. We do the same thing all the time. And yes, if it's effective, if we're winning games, fantastic. And maybe they're happy with a point. It's better than no points, absolutely. But sometimes you just need summit, and if it's not the formation, it's certainly then the players, and I think that will then come, as we said, with the transfer window, Steve. So we're certainly not going to get carried away over it, but it'd be nice because the other thing as well, don't forget, is we stick to one way of playing. We don't do anything different. That's fine from Newcastle's perspective, but if I was an opposition manager, would be pretty easy to suss out, wouldn't we? Without just having that little bit of something else. So we'll see. Life Goal says, do you prefer Elliot Anderson or Harvey Elliott, Joe?
Well, Elliot Anderson, of course.
Do you prefer Alexander Isak or Isaac Hayden?
Oh, Isaac Hayden all day long.
And Matt Ritchie or Stephen Hawkins?
Stephen Hawkins. Richard Dawson.
Trying to trick you there, making sure you were paying attention. I'm not Life Goals. I think you know the answer to the third one for me. Definitely Matt Ritchie. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, says Dan. And I wish people would stop asking why I'm bottom of the league, mate. I'm locked out of my account. That is why. I've never competed. I did one set of predictions and I'm actually blocked from the account and I can't get in it. I've given in. Bringing on Murphy and Wood is going to make the team weaker, but the players are tired. Need to bring on somebody. I'm sure he would rather be bringing on Mbappe. Kenny says there was 12 minutes between Palace subs and NUFC subs. We were run ragged by the fresh legs until we made our changes. I wasn't saying that the time that he brought them on was wrong. I just think some of the predictions, some of the substitutions he made were wrong. Do you know what I mean? Dave reckons as well. Do you think Big Joe has a chance for the Brazil squad, says Jack?
Absolutely. I'd play him in goal, up front, all over the place. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, he's got as good a chance as any. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I tell you what, Stephen, in all seriousness, in terms of that kind of, what do we call him now? Like midfield destroyer, if you like, you know, they must have some bloody good players in the centre of that midfield. I know Bruno and Paqueta tend to get a shout, but yeah, it'd be nice to think that you could have a national team and don't play the likes of Joe Linton with the form that he's been in that position. So he's got to go for me.
Life Goal says, would you fellas keep Botman ahead of Byrne, and would you move Byrne to left back and play 3 centre backs with Trippier and Target as wing backs, Bruno and Joe Linton in the middle, ASM number 10, and Isak and Wilson up top?
That looks a little bit like Life Goals. That looks a little bit like my Championship Manager formation. So yeah, absolutely, we'll win out. Would Botman? Yes, absolutely. I will confidently say, Steve, I will confidently say that I think Sven Botman will probably be the best centre-half we've ever had in years to come. Yeah, I would. I think Dan Burn is extremely effective, but he hasn't got the engine on him as he like Matt Target has, you know, in terms of that bit of quality. If you're going to play them all, you're going to have to play 3 at the back. But yeah. And as for the rest of the squad, yeah, look pretty good.
I think at the start of the season, though, the games are coming thick and fast. And, you know, a lot of midweek fixtures as well. You know, the League Cup, we're progressing that. There's an extra game there, an extra game there. You know, ultimately for me, rotation's the key. And with Matty Target obviously having been out injured, it's made it slightly easier for him because he's been able to bring Dan Burn in there, who is quite comfortable playing at left back. So I think football's changing a lot. Whereas in the past, you would be going 4-4-2 and, you know, you would be sticking the same team out time and time again unless form dipped or someone got injured. I think it's squad rotations and, you know, changing things around are all part and parcel of it now. And the fact that there's more substitutions allowed does make it a bit easier to keep people happy, I think. Yeah. So, you know, I'm not sure. I think Botman will grow in confidence. I think there's been times where he's looked a little bit, you know, out of kilter because he's just getting used to the league. But he's world class. There's no doubt about it. He's going to be a world class centre half him. But yeah. I love Dan Burn and Kevin Smith. You're right. He's got no pace.
It's a shame, Steve, isn't it? Because if you think about the season he had, you know, and the performances he's put in since we bought him, you know, I'll be honest, he surprised the life out of me. I didn't see a massive amount of him, but you're thinking, I'm not sure about that. Do you know what? The guy's been colossal, you know, but like I say, go back to it again. We're talking about levels, aren't we? So yeah, it is. It's a shame, but you mentioned it earlier. It's a brutal game. Sometimes it's a brutal sport. But isn't it quite nice? Isn't it really, really nice that we can have this discussion and we can think about we've got options all of a sudden? Dare I say it? Even Jamal Lascelles looks reasonably decent. I thought he was excellent against Liverpool. So it's nice, and maybe the defence isn't the thing that we need to worry about for a while. I wish we had these problems up front.
Yeah, I'm not going to criticise Dan Burn. I think the kid's class, and I think he's got a big future at Newcastle, and I think both of them can play together. Steve Howie said it at a talk-in I did with him at the Surf Cafe last Thursday, and Steve Howie played, you know, over 12, 13 years for Newcastle United. I trust his opinion, and he says 2 left-footers can play with each other as 2 right-footers can play with each other, you know.
And it might be, you know, Steve, it wouldn't have been up for debate, would it? But don't forget, in the middle of all that as well, Fabian Schär's been absolutely outstanding. You can't drop him either. You know, I think it's just unfortunate that it's been Dan Burn. You know.
Yeah, Fabian Schär can play midfield, of course, as well, if needed. I mean, you know, it's something he could have done at the weekend. He could have stuck him in the centre of midfield. I think he would have certainly given us a bit more creativity and would have had their players on the back foot. But Eddie Howe, great stuff. You know, he's had a great start. 6 games in a row. You know, the only defeat to Liverpool and a narrow one at that. I'm happy with the way things are going, and I think most people are as well. The next batch of games, there's a few 3-pointers in there for us to get, to get some points in the bag. Thanks to everybody who watched. Thanks to all the people in the chat as well. Thanks for those of you who jumped on as well. It's always good to have people on and get their different opinions. I'm back at the slightly earlier time tomorrow night at 5 o'clock with Ross Gregory, and don't forget Wednesday night. It will be Geordie's here, Geordie's there. The full squad are available on Wednesday, Thursday, Super Matt and Gibbo, Friday, the three amigos. And a happy birthday to this man, Liam O'Brien. What a goal that was down at Roker Park. I was there to see that, and big happy birthday to him. I'm sure he'll be having a couple of pints of Guinness to celebrate. And John saying Sky locked Steve out after he predicted NUFC 10 and Richie to score all 10 goals. Thanks, John. Dear God. I'm never going to live this down, being locked out. Michael, too much noise around my house or I would have jumped on. It's bank holiday here in Canada. Michael, next Monday, jump on. Look forward to hearing from you. Joe, as always, a pleasure, mate. See you next week. Take care, pal.
Take care, guys. See ya.